My purpose in life is to leave my dent in the universe in absolutely everything I do, as well as to inspire and help others do the same. For someone to leave their dent in my life is a privilege. For me to leave my dent in someone else's life is an honor. But to inspire and help others leave their own dent in the universe is an indescribable feeling. I plan on doing this through this podcast by celebrating my guests and inspiring my listeners, all while leaving my own dent in the universe and helping others do the same. My name is Fer Andrade, and this is Denting. Good evening or good morning whenever you're listening to this. I'm back here in my podcast Denting. I'm here with a teammate, a friend, a leader, a captain, a musician, artist, and a really smart guy. I'm here with Francisco Perez, Cisco, SuaveCisco, all these nicknames. Pancho, how are you, bro?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here. I mean, you're the man. You ain't got to tell me I'm the man. You're the man, for so yeah, it's a pleasure to be here for sure.
No, thanks for being here, bro. I really, really appreciate it. You want to introduce yourself real quick just to everyone that may or may not know you back home, your major, position, sport, etc.?
Yeah, so, I mean, like, you kind of gave a wonderful intro already, but, yeah, Francisco, I'm from Santa Clarita, and, yeah, soccer was for sure my first love, and that's what got, honestly, I would say the ball rolling, for sure. Played since I want to say something, I could walk for sure. And that, along with that, my dad taught me how to play my first instrument, which was the piano.
Okay.
Luckily, and the really crazy origin story for that, I didn't really want to learn to begin with, and he forced me in a way, not in like a bad way, but in a loving way for sure, that I now appreciate. Grew up in the church. I'm Catholic like yourself.
Yes.
So grew up in the church, grew up in the church groups. My mom and my dad are very devout Catholics, always serving, and my whole family. I have 3 siblings. It's my older brother Emmanuel, then me, then my sister Emily, and my little brother Caesar. We're a family of 6.
Nice.
Typical, lower middle class family. Really, really close and really centered on God first and foremost. So. I want to say that's where my origin really started. Life for me was literally soccer, music, church, and family for as long as I can remember. And then, luckily, my senior year, I had the opportunity to come get recruited to the best public university, Cal.
Yes,
and that's where this other journey started for me, which was really more of an independent journey. Coming in here on my own, I was the first one out of my family to go to college.
Nice.
I was really, really proud of that, and my parents were really proud of that. So I knew like coming here was gonna be a huge change in my life, but I knew it was gonna be something great yet scary at the same time. And now fast forward to these 4 years, they flew by.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They really flew by, and I really expanded soccer wise. I think it was a great experience, and more so just the new people that I met and fell in love with here in Berkeley, and is what opened up my new chapter in life, which was, like you said, diving more into a musical career that I like, and then majoring in applied math, which is what my major is, getting my degree in that with a focus on computer science, which it's been a journey for sure. It's been a journey.
That's tough, especially at Cal.
Yeah, challenges. Applied math and computer science is no joke, but through thick and thin, people have been there to support me, and I think without my family, without my friends, without my girlfriend, without everybody like supporting me, I think I wouldn't be able to be in a great spot where I am now, and just excited to see where that takes me. Like you said, I'm luckily I can say that I have a lot of options out there. I have a lot of things that I'm diving into. Like you said, my music career, my soccer career, which is still going, and my degree, which is in a great spot that I think I would never have thought I would be in, and I'm glad I am in that spot right now.
And that's fantastic. That's just what I want to talk with you about. How someone gets to do all 3 things at once, have a social life, have a girlfriend, have a great family. So let's start from the beginning. You talk a lot about your support group and the people that are there for you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that soccer was your first love, but then also that you started playing the piano. Who influenced you to start playing soccer and get into your passions of both sport and instrument and things like that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, very close family. Like my dad and my mom were huge grinders. Immigrated to this country from Mexico, and with nothing, they created a wonderful family, and those have been my pillars for sure. My mom and dad, love them to death. Yeah, it was both of them. I want to say, my dad, played soccer, grew up, had that soccer culture. My mom had that in her family as well. And growing up, all I saw was soccer around me. I would go to the park, see soccer, want to play. All that was on TV was soccer, and I didn't mind. I sat there with my dad on the weekends watching soccer. I would look forward to it. And soccer was just my life. It was just something that I couldn't live without at an early age. And I was, playing on 2-3 teams and just having a blast, and that's really how that love started. And with music, it was a similar story, except like I said, it really that more revolved around and originated in the church. My dad actually taught himself how to play the guitar because he himself was into music but never really had a professional background in it. Never got taught by a musician or went to school. He just fell in love with my mom, and was the one pushing him to come into church. And the way he really connected was with the music in church. And so he decided he wanted to learn the guitar, taught himself the guitar, taught himself the keyboard, the piano. And I think what really is that, like I said, my parents really pushed my siblings and I. Like, we all play instruments, and it's thanks to them, because they really helped us and pushed us, gave us that little push that we needed. Like, who's to say we wouldn't have learned it eventually, but they didn't take that. They said, no, like, you guys are young, but down the road you will appreciate this. And believe me, I appreciate it more than they know. So yeah, I was like 7 or 8 when my dad, no, I'm probably younger than that, like 6, 7.
Wow.
When my dad first gave me the guitar, and I didn't want to do it. It was painful. I don't know if you've ever tried to play the guitar. Like, when you first start, your fingers are just sore. So
yeah, I
didn't want to. My older brother was already playing the guitar because he was pretty okay. He was great. But I was like, that's not for me. And so, he said, you know what? If you don't want to play guitar, it's fine, but you're going to play something. Yeah. So then we had a keyboard, and he's like, all right, go do that. And that was more of my speed, I would say. So I started with that, fell in love with that. And then, at a young age, he had my brother and I, the first two of the family. We were playing with the church group already. I think I was like 9 or 10, and my brother was 11 or 12. And he was playing the guitar, I was playing the piano, and I think for me that's when everything picked up, because myself fell in love with that, and I went a step further and I said, Dad, I want to sing. And so we kind of did that whole thing. He would let me learn some songs. I would sing them, and it was oh, it's so cute, you're so young, you do. I'm like, yeah. But for me, it was just like, that's what I like to do. I never thought, oh, I want to be an artist when I grow up. No, it's just like, I like to do this. Hey, can you help me? And he said, yeah, go. Like, here, this is what we're going to do. And we'd do that. And it's funny, I actually got into songwriting the same way. I was like 12, and I said, you know what? I can play song. I can sing a little. And I said, I like these songs that I'm hearing, all church related. And I was like, you know what? I think I can take it a step further. And I did that, and I did it without anybody knowing. I was like, I don't want anybody to know that I'm doing this. It's a little shy, Yeah. But that happened, and then finally, like, one day, I was like, hey, Mom, like, do you want to hear something? And play it for her. She's like, oh, I've never heard that one before. Like, I'm like, oh, I actually wrote it. And then that's also what kind of like, no, another hidden talent that they saw in me, and they, my mom and my dad are like super proud and pushed me to do that. And more so, it's more of that, the whole going through middle school and high school, things change. You grow up a little, you start, drifting one way or another in terms of just more friends, more time for that, less time really, to dive into other things. But regardless, music and soccer and church were always like a pillar. They couldn't be changed. Like,
it was your foundation.
there wasn't anything that really went into that was like, anything can revolve around that, but those three don't move: soccer, music, church.
Yeah.
And so went through middle school and high school, was in the band there, and now it's, actually learning a little bit more professionally. I played the saxophone, which I thought was a huge challenge because no one in my family played a instrument like that, saxophone, totally different.
I can assume.
Yeah, so I learned how to read music and do a little bit more in terms of like the school of actual music and the theory and stuff like that, and that's where I kind of continued to like it outside of just like, oh, it's just something you do on the weekends. It was something that I kind of liked. And then moving forward, now fast forward, I kind of just had it in the back pocket, nothing really like, oh, this is what I'm going to do, because I think soccer was still so huge for me that I decided to go that route. And luckily that, like, soccer, high school, getting recruited, doing that whole process, coming to Cal, and then coming here and then being in such a different new place, there's ups and downs, as you know.
100%.
And in those downs, I think it was really crucial that I had music, because I would, be in my room and like, I'm just gonna create something because that's a happy place for me. Like you said, luckily I'm able to have three. When one is not feeling so great and the other one isn't either, you still have another one where you can say like, that's still me, that's still my persona, that's part of me, that one lifts up the other, and then they all kind of come into, so that was really how I discovered like that I really, really, really loved music, was when those tough times here at Cal, soccer, having bad days, and just diving into that music, creating something from nothing, and it's just something a process that I fell in love with, and now I can say that I'm getting better, and now I can say it's even better for me. I love it so much that, like you said, it's still the three pillars that I have to this day that I'm just so grateful for.
Yeah, and with those three pillars, I sense something from you. So, culture-wise, soccer is there because of your family culture. Religion, is obviously separate, but it's also part of the family culture in a way. And to my understanding, it's great that your dad found his way to the Word of God through music, and that he inspired you guys to go through that same path as well, which even opened up more paths for you. Throughout that whole time, I think many people could say, okay, playing soccer and writing music, it can balance out, right? Because you're not going to be playing soccer all day, so you have time to do music. When did you fit the time for school? Because, okay, you're the first to go to college in your family. Not any college, right? You're going to UC Berkeley. And besides that, you're also not doing an easy major. I don't think there's an easy major at Cal, but there's a lot of student athletes, right, that just play the sport and get in. It's just realistic for D1 athletes. But you're not doing an easy major. So how do you balance all of those three things? And did your family or support group or culture just push that side as well?
Yeah, no, 100%. That you're right. It's something that that's just subtle, but to tell you the truth, it's just all sacrifice. It's sacrifice, like you said. There's no magic button where you can say like, oh, you come home tired from soccer, you do a little bit of music, and you get brain dead, and you just push a button. You're like, oh, homework's done. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it, for sure, and I think it's just something, like you said, culturally, my support group, my parents, my family, ever since a young age, it's something that like was part of my personality. I was very, very, very busy. Like, you don't understand. Like, we were very busy. Yeah. So like, for example, like my parents were very invested in this church group, but on the weekends there was tournaments. You know how tournaments go. For sure. It's everywhere. It's, every single day. San Diego, you're in San Bernardino, you're in NorCal, SoCal, different. So it was a lot of sacrifice, starting with my parents, then my siblings and myself, and just like our family knew like the times weren't easy. There were a lot of times where like we're going to a tournament and then we have a church retreat like right after, so we're driving back and like like changing in the car. We're so tired, but we're still doing this, getting home late after a retreat, which they're all day, and still having to do homework like you said. And I think it's like I could have barely easily been like like screw this, it's too much. But like I said, my parents, just hearing how my dad's story, hearing my mom's story, hearing like the opportunities they gave us, kind of just knowing that, what, as hard as I have it now, I could have had it harder. So I'm just going to keep pushing. And it started since then. I want to say and my older brother knows this, like my younger sister, my little brother, we all know that. And that's why I think like you said, it's just something culturally that our family just kind of ingrained, and it started like by example from our parents, and it became something innate in us that we just knew like this is this is what it takes, this is what it is. And there's some days, don't get me wrong, where I'm just sitting in my room or sitting, I'm like just like I'm tired, like I'm exhausted, I don't want to do this. Especially here now, fast forward to Cal, like I think it's even more of a challenge because like you don't physically have that support group. At least personally, me, like I said, like my family was a huge role. Like my friends back home, same thing. And not having that, being here, yeah, you have new friends, but it's a whole new start. Not everybody knows where you're coming from, and it's just different culturally. And so not having that is probably been one of the biggest challenges in my life. But I think it just goes back to like, how you get good at anything. You really repetition. You've done it so much that something in the back of your head just goes, keep going, keep going, keep going. And so again, coming in with an applied math, my dad was really like, my dad and my mom were both pushing like, you're good with school, so keep pushing. Have that degree, have it something that you want it to be, where at the end of the day, you can use it. And I'm over here like, I don't know, but I really liked math. I really liked coding. I really liked that. And so I really, worked hard in that. And the first couple years were so hard. I literally did not know what was going to happen. And luckily, like through hard work and through faith, it came about. So again, I think it's like you said, very cultural, very, very something that is just ingrained in my family and that I appreciate, and that now I come to appreciate, because now it's just almost automatic. Sometimes there's bad days, but you just got to push through those bad days, those tough days.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to emphasize a bit on those tough days, and I want to go back to one of your points about how you've had rough patches here at Cal. I think everyone has. I've talked about it with many people personally. Right. I'm still going through my rough patches right now. As you may know, I mean, obviously in general, you know, like with soccer and stuff. But besides that, I want to know a bit more about your story. So you talk a lot about your support group. You come to Cal, and that support group, like you said, is no longer there. You go through rough patches. So how do you deal with that? And like you said, sometimes two things aren't there. The third one is, how do you balance it? How do you do it by yourself?
Yeah, and that's honestly probably the key is just the whole being by yourself for me was the challenge. I think early on, before coming to college, I really felt this sense of like, okay, I know I'm good. I can do things independently, but they mean two different things when you're not away from your family. Like when I was at home, I knew that I had a test coming up. I wouldn't tell my parents, but I'd take care of it.
Yeah.
Right. I had in practice, or I had to go work out extra to get ahead. I knew that's what it took. And I would do it without telling my parents, because I was like, okay, I can do this. But when you take a step now into that next level of college, and you hear, and you still think you can do that, which is the case, but when you don't have, on those bad days, like I said, those times where you're just really exhausted, things aren't going your way, with soccer, for example, there's injuries. That's really usually how the ball gets rolling in the wrong direction. You have an injury, you have a bad day, bad practice, bad week, you get hammered by midterms, by quizzes, you thought you were okay, but it comes in, it hits you, and you have now a bad week in school, bad week in soccer, and now you don't have your family to be like there to be like, it's okay, like you're gonna, and so you got to do that internally. And that was my biggest challenge, is like things like that kind of like piled up on me. I thought I could do it all for sure by myself, and then it comes a time where you realize that like it's just so tough when your support group isn't necessarily at an eyesight, like
yes,
right here with you. Like they're at home, they're cheering you on, they're saying, you got this, but it's different when you don't see that, when you can't necessarily go and like talk to your little brother and just get your mind off of something. It's tough. And I think that was my biggest challenge for sure, going through those rough patches of rough exams, the like Cal's not, like you said, Cal's not easy.
It's not.
And no matter what you do, whatever degree, whatever major you get, it's not easy. So there are going to be tough times, and that's something that, being the first generation in my family going to college, I kind of knew in the back of my head, but I didn't really know how those bad days, how bad those got. So I think it was eye-opening, and I've learned to love those days, because those are the days where you prove something to yourself and you realize the most about yourself, like how much courage you can have, how strong your mind is, how strong, your heart can be, how strong your support group, just reaching out and doing all those things. And like you said, those 3 pillars were huge for me, and those are things that I kept going to: soccer, music, and God. And God was huge, because I know coming here, it gets even tougher, because at home, you have your family to be able to go, let's go to church, let's do this, let's do that. When you're here, and there's no one to tell you that. And more so, you have to be willing to put yourself in a situation where this, like, you individually find a way to connect with God and have Him be the center of your life. And there was a lot of times where it was tough for me. I'm not gonna lie. There was times where I wouldn't forget, but I just thought, it's gonna take away time. And it wasn't until I realized, no, that again, got to go back to what I know, my 3 pillars.
Exactly.
And again, those were part of the bad times where I was just kind of like felt all over the place. Felt like I was just not centered. Felt like I was, up and down. But again, it's going back to that whole, kind of like that whole path of the whole journey of finding who you are individually, away from all the support and everything. That was my journey for sure, and I enjoyed it, and I'm still in the journey for sure. New chapters ahead, but those are my biggest takeaways from those days that you said.
Yeah, I'm just, when you're describing this whole thing, I can't not think of my dad personally, because something he would always tell me, as soon as I overcomplicated things, whether it be in soccer games or in school or extracurriculars, he would always tell me, just go back to basics. And I know he'll be watching this, and he'll probably smile here, but it's go back to the basics, And that's what you're doing with your values. Something I think a lot about personally is, I like to call it like the Jenga Theory or something. It's like my own idea. Maybe somebody else has it and I didn't create it, but the game Jenga and stuff.
Right, yeah.
So if you don't have those values in the foundation, that base, if you take those, in this case 3, away, the whole tower is going to fall. And that's how I see it. Without those 3 pillars, without those 3 values that you have, you're not going to be able to build off of anything else. So I think what you're saying there with values, I identify with personally a lot as well. In our case, like you said, with faith, something for me, I went to a Catholic school from kindergarten to senior year of high school. And then I come to a public school in Berkeley, and that's completely different. It's a big change. But then it was on me to go to Mass on Sundays, because I was like, if I don't go, now that I'm away from home, I don't know what's going to happen. So it was on me to, I don't know if this happened to you, but the values that I had back home, I had to emphasize a lot, like to overdo them while I'm alone, just to make sure they're always there. Because if I didn't, they could just slip away. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. Like, you have to do the extra when you're by yourself, when you're independent.
Yeah, and I think that's funny that you say that, because I literally have conversations in, like just thoughts in my head, same thing, where it's you realize you're like, no, like let me go back. I'm a very big person now. Like I love to have a clear cut schedule. I know things can change, but I need to have like certain things in order. That's just how I operate. So like you said, there was times where I first got here and I was like, okay, Mass Sundays, found the Mass, the Newman's here on campus and everything. Okay, that's in order every Sunday. And then school had that schedule, practice, boom, and it was going great. And then you start to, like you say, you mess a little bit with it. You say, maybe I can get, I didn't go one Sunday, it's okay. I had to study, I had that excuse, right? And then it turns into 2 weeks, and then now you're like, oh, wait, and you're thrown off. And like you said, it's going to take back to your Jenga. Yeah. And it's literally that. It's just you mess with it a little bit, and not to say that you couldn't do it, but what I've started to realize, and I just kind of thought about this talking to other people in my recent time right here, we don't realize that life in itself is just a marathon, and we like to think about it in little spurts, but there's a lot of things that you just need to be kind of ingrained in your head, and just like you said, like just continue going to the basics, something that works for you, your 3 pillars, because it's not saying that you got to make it now and here. Like, everybody obviously wants to be up here. Everybody wants to be, the new influencer, the new artist, the new this, the new that. But there's steps to these things. There's a path and a journey to it that each person goes through himself. But you got to level up, and that comes over time. comes with patience, relentlessness, and just consistency. And I think that's the consistency part that I didn't realize until those rough patches, until I started overcoming those by saying, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing week by week by week and progressing. And there's going to be tough times, but as long as I keep coming back to the same thing, training God, trusting the process, trusting my family, my support group, my friends, my girlfriend, everything, myself, and then just coming and showing up in itself and doing everything that I know how to do to its full ability and just being present. I think that's the biggest thing you can ever do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just connecting with this on all the values, like like you said, if you don't have them, it's like you start losing yourself a bit. And that's how I felt. Mm-hmm. And with the pandemic, I had a lot of time off, and that's how I like regained myself in a way, but taking all of these values into that thing you were saying about nothing being too quick, it's all a marathon, right?
Yeah.
How do you continue in a marathon when humans are just so in love with quick races, right? Obviously, people love the quick results, things like that. You have those 3 pillars. Do those 3 pillars, what do you describe them as, your purpose, your why in life that drives you, or is it a destination?
Yeah. I used to think there was a destination, like you said. Like, I used to think that, oh no, it's give me after these 4 years of college, after these 4 years, I'm gonna have the job of my dreams. I'm gonna have the career of my dreams. I'm gonna have people coming and begging to have me work for them or play for them or this or that, or like, I know. And I used to think about that, and I'm like, but if I'm not coming on this journey, if I'm not evolving, if I'm not becoming a better person, a better player, a better student, a better, son, brother, whatever have you, musician, artist, if you're not growing in that process and you're not enjoying that, that's what I learned, that's what gives you a set purpose. That's what gives you, because things can change. Like, God forbid you have a terrible injury and there's your career. And so where's the destination now? What gets you going is who you are and learning about yourself. And that's the privilege that I've been able to have. And looking back, and you said, I think COVID year was huge because it kind of taught us that in an instant things can stop, things can change. Like, I thought I had like I said, a whole year planned out of what I was gonna do, steps to go, school, like classes left, and in the instant everything stopped, closed down. And now it kind of hit the reset button. Now you got to figure out what to do and how to adapt. And I guess it goes back to that, showed me that instead of really focusing on where you're going, is how you're doing it, how you're arriving there, how prepared are you, how is your mental strength, and how is your ability to adapt and to overcome. And so like you said, I think those 3 pillars for me, music, God, soccer, and even at my family, my friends, everything around me, I've realized that's my identity, and that's what I've grown to love, and gives you that sense of purpose. And that's what you said. I think it gives me, like, that's my role, and I'm gonna do my best to do that role, and I'm gonna be the best version of myself just for that sole purpose. Give myself all to that every day, show up. And I think that's now what I've grown to love, and that's what keeps me going.
That's special, man. Yeah. That's really, really, really special. I feel like not a lot of people have that mindset, and that's special. Just realizing that there's no quick destination, and even in life, like, in a way, there's no destination. And once you identify that, it hits different, right? Because let's say you reach your destination, you reach your goal, then what? So, and it's fine. I mean, we're all about goal setting and having our short destinations, but our purpose has to be way bigger than that. It has to be for a greater good. And for you to have identified that right now is amazing, especially with those 3 things. So tell me a bit more now with this journey. You already know it's going to be a lifelong journey in any sense, because you're not limited to the superficiality of soccer or music or a religion. It's bigger than that because of the values that you have. With these values, what have you done recently? I know it's 3 completely different things, but let's start with school for now. So you're the first one in your family to go to college. You go to UC Berkeley. Where's that at right now, degree wise and things like that, like on a more personal note?
Yeah, I mean, finishing up for sure this semester. Having that last class to get my degree, which is I'm really excited about. You know, it's a stats class. So personally, it's not my favorite. I rather do a lot more like numbers, like calculus, algebra. That's just my forte.
Cannot relate.
but yeah, I'm really excited. That's coming to a close, which I'm happy about, because not really because I don't like school. Like, it's funny, like I don't love school, but I love learning.
Okay.
I love learning new skills, new ideas, new concepts, because I feel like I love to be that sponge. Like, anything you can give me out.
Yeah.
Just, it'll work out in at the end of the day. Somehow it'll be useful. So I love learning. So that's not really why I say, oh, I'm glad. I just think it's more of I'm excited to finally reap the rewards of hard work, like, staying up late to study, to make midterms and homeworks and projects and things like that. So I'm happy that's coming to a close. Finals week is gonna be the last final I take here at Cal, school wise, get my degree and then go from there. But yeah, degree wise, it should be coming to a close. But learning, I'm obviously not done learning at all.
Yeah. I think it's Galatians 6, but you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
So it's a good time for you, especially with this degree. If you were to go in this direction, or you do end up someday, what do you want to do with this degree?
Well, I want to get into tech. It's always been my biggest thing. Actually, the degree I got, or the major I am in, is applied math with, it's called a cluster here, but I like to kind of say with a focus.
Okay.
So it's like a focus. They tell you to pick a focus.
Yeah.
So I chose the computer science route, because that's what I'd love to get into, is, coding, being a software engineer, a developer, someone that can just work with tech, because I've always been really interested, really pulled that way. So, and I know tech's growing, so I know that it'll always be around, or it'll be around for a long, long time. But yeah, so I took a lot of CS classes, got really good with coding. I learned a lot of languages in that sense. Like I said, something that I have in the back of my pocket, that if I end up going that route and kind of digging a little bit more in that career, I would love to get into web development, app development, work in companies that just have to do with either data analytics, things like that. Those things interest me. Obviously, getting into that path, I would do a lot more homework and research into what I actually want to do, but I know that's where at least I want to put myself in, that situation I want to put myself in, because I have background in math, and math is huge in technology, and then computer science and coding is also the other part. So it's those two hand-in-hand things that those what I got here in Cal, and so that's what I would dive into.
Okay, and with that tech connection, just to slide into transition into your next area,
right.
With music, how do you connect that tech? Where is your music at? We'll talk about your coming projects in a bit, but as of right now, like, where is it at? What have you done? How do you connect it with tech?
Yeah, well, so with tech, I mean, in music, that's how I started music outside of just the religion, the church group, was on the Mac. Actually comes with GarageBand, and it's just, that's the program, and I was just messing around with it a little bit. I'd seen my brother messing around with it.
That's what I'm recording on right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of just messing around with that, and like seeing the little instruments that are there. Obviously, it's all software, so I was like, oh, like, it's cool. I mean, I used to do music like analogly. I don't even know if that's a word, but just playing real time, not on buttons and things like that. So got the ball rolling, because it got me curious. And then being able to, in order to operate, GarageBand or software, like now I use Logic, you gotta, I feel like, have some sort of sense of like understanding technology, understanding how things work. And I think in itself, it's this little coding world in itself, figuring out. But and so that's kind of like, I feel like how they went hand in hand, because I like, every song is a project, like you said, in itself, and learning how to kind of set time apart to work on it, and knowing that there's, parts to it, starting, finishing, editing, and then going back again and going to, like cleaning things up and fixing and things like that. And I think just the ability to project manage personally without having someone tell you how to do it or what to do or things like that is how I kind of like transitioned my world into coding and in school. Like you learn how to like dive into projects with deadlines, with how to like operate your time in those projects. So I think that's the biggest way I transitioned, I think, from just using my major and then just taking it to my personal hobby. So
yeah, and that's great that you get to connect those two.
Right.
And I mean, obviously in soccer, I mean, I'd say you've connected it in a way with some playlists that you do, the team playlist. But on a separate note, you're still a D1 athlete. And I mean, you're a good D1 athlete. You're not just a random D1 athlete. I know you're too humble to mention it, but I mean, second team All Pac-12 right now this season. You've got many, like a great resume behind you, captain of the team. Tell me on like how you went through this process with soccer at the same time. The major's big, the music is big. Now you're at Cal. How was your soccer journey through that?
Yeah, well, the soccer journey for sure. Again, like with all of my journeys, ups and downs. Definitely, there were ups and the downs were down. But I was just able to be persistent, and it started off great. Got recruited late, I would say, because my class was full when I got recruited. But obviously, the coaches saw something in me to the point where like we're willing to bring you on. Even though we've only seen you a couple games, we're willing to bring you on. And the semester after the season that I was supposed to come in.
So spring semester.
So the spring semester, and I said, you know what? Okay, that's good. Like I'll come in the spring, and so they took that leap of faith with me. I got here, and I was able to prove myself in practice to the point where I was able to come in for the first spring game that we had at that time, because the spring semester is off season.
Yeah.
And so I was able to come, and we were. Playing some semi-pro team from San Francisco at the time. It was another team. They're long. I think they're the Deltas. They were gone, I think, now. But and came in on half. I came in the second half, and I was able to. I had a good game, and from there, that's where my journey started. Coming in more consistently as a sub, kind of slowly proving yourself. Whenever you got the chance to, and to the point where I left a great impression going into the summer where the coaching staff was like, you know what, you're playing really well, keep competing. We think you can be a starter for your first season here. Just keep working over the summer, which is what I did. Going back home, training with some like men's league teams, just playing, getting some fitness, coming back, putting in the same work. And then I was able to have a very successful first season. Starting as a freshman on the starting 11, playing good minutes. Wow. I thought that was really, that really got me excited and motivated, because I'm doing something here. I'm playing the sport I love. I'm playing how I know how to play and a new level, and I'm already making an impact. I thought I was great and everything. Had a good season. 2 goals against UCLA. That game was crazy. Wow. Yeah. We won 3-2. And I was just able, and that was one of the games that knocked them out of the playoffs and got us into the playoffs my freshman year, I was so
That's
happy.
Amazing.
I was stoked. And a crazy game, getting to playoffs. Lost the first game off a crazy game again, but overall, I'd say my freshman year was a great experience. I had a great time, great connection with the guys. Felt like I had a great soccer season, and everything. Fast forward to sophomore season. Right off the bat, come battling injuries off in the summer.
Okay.
Literally, the first practice back for preseason, I rolled my ankle real bad in the first practice. Out for 2 weeks, and I traveled to our preseason in Pomona, Claremont, but I wasn't practicing. I wasn't even supposed to play, but I was like, no, I want to play. So I was doing a lot of work, kind of icing, doing things on my own, to the point where I was able to play, but now looking back, I don't know if I might have sped it up or to the point where that whole season I was really battling injuries, and also just mentally I was kind of more of a battle for me, because it was because of the injuries, but also just because mentally you go out there and you try to play how you know how to play, and things like you said, that was down here for sure, because I started off hot, and then I had a lot of assists that year, but slowly and surely found my way off of the squad for whatever reason. And at the end of that season, it was I think that was one of the bigger lows that I met here soccer-wise, because, you come to, like, how you go from, from freshman year, was great year, to now a very subpar year, personally on my, just what I thought. And so it was a really tough time, and I think that's where I'm happy with what I ended up, doing, was what I took it personally, put in a lot of work, and junior year was able to, again, come back into the starting 11, be an impact player, be a high minute player, be a guy who got goals, got assists, like earned a spot again. I think more so than for the team, I earned it in my eyes to myself, because I knew, what, I'm just going to do it or die trying, is what I told myself. So I think that was a great year for me mentally, more than anything, more than soccer. I just appreciated how hard I worked off the field just to get back into what I loved. And then going forwarding that into COVID year, again, another tough year, which is where I was like, again, back to the same thing. But I knew what it took and what it had to be done, and going back and now having this season and how it did, on a close call, but I was happy with this season and with what we did. And like I said, that more so than the journey for me was great, is just battling those tough times and highlighting the great times, but more so for the result, I highlight them for what it took to get there, is what I really enjoyed.
Yeah, you enjoyed the process, you enjoyed the journey.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's an amazing 4 years for you. I didn't know your story, soccer-wise, so that's nice. I didn't know you started as a freshman, struggled in your sophomore year. Yeah. I only met you until your junior year, right. So I got here, you're a veteran, you're balling. But now, so now we fast-forwarded your whole story. We get to this point in your life. You want to talk about where you're at with all three things. It's currently, late April, last day of April here. This is going to get posted in, June, but... what is it like decision-wise going forward as of right now in all three things?
Yeah, I feel like this time for me, as soon as the season ended here in the spring, has been the next challenge for me is making a big decision. And I don't mean big decision that's like this is the decision, because every decision is going to be a big decision, whether we know it or not. But it's been the next decision for me is, okay, now what's the next step? Like, where do we go from here? I have my degree, but I also have another season of eligibility due to COVID. I have the opportunity to do that graduate certificate program, which looks interesting, but I also have I've been here for 4.5 years per se. I feel like I've done a lot what I've wanted to accomplish. I've gotten the experiences. I've made the friendships. I've done it. I've put in the work, and I feel like the decision is to make a call whether now is the time to take that leap out of the nest for me and go into what's next, whether that be back home and working on a career out in the world, trying to make it pro, make it to the next level, or working again on making it to this, shifting now my focus really intensely to this music. And so I think it's back to the whole, it's like a bittersweet. I'm happy that I was able to balance all three out and have a broad spectrum of choices, so that I'm not just back against the wall, I don't know what to do. But it is bittersweet, because now I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to realize, not that you have to choose one over the other, but you do have to take that next step in one of them to benefit just individually and keep growing. Because what, the last thing I want to do is stop growing and just plateau, which, not to say that anybody really plateaus, but you do get into, I think, I like being uncomfortable. I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. I want to move into the next stages of my life, which is down the road forming a family, having some stability, having something that's mine that I can teach others, that come after me, give them experiences that they never got. And those are my big goals. Like you said, goal setting is huge, not the destination, but setting goals so that you have a roadmap to for furthering your journey. So that's where I'm at right now, trying to figure that out, and it hasn't been easy. I've loved talking to everyone who I've talked to back home, my friends, my family, my parents, coaches here. I talked to Alec this morning, actually.
Shout out Alec.
Shout out Alec. Yeah, it was a great conversation we had. Gave me a lot of experience, a lot of his experiences that helped me look internally and say, I like that, or I don't like that, or I connect with that, I don't connect with that. So that's why I've talked to a lot of people right now in this time, and taken the time to really think about what I like and what I love and where I see myself going. And personally, I just wanna keep putting myself in situations where I can keep growing, and I know I'm gonna be happy with whatever comes up, with whatever I decide. And I think more so right now, these next couple of weeks, are just gonna be time for me to start like trying myself in those three and seeing which way my heart pulls me is more so where I'm at, and what I'd say is the next step for me.
Yeah. You mentioned not having to pick one over the other. Your whole life you've balanced out all three. Do you see yourself committing to one but still trying out the other things at the same time?
Yeah, it's funny because my whole life I've always thought about where I'd see myself in the future. I don't know if everybody does that. I do that.
We all do it.
Yeah, okay. But I always say, wonder what situation I'm going to be in. Like you said, like you said, those three things. I see myself. I do see that, and I understand now that realistically it's going to be impossible to necessarily be super highly invested in all of those at once. Not to say it can't be done, because anything can be done, but personally I'm starting to realize and understand, and just know that it is going to take some energy and investment and a leap of faith to kind of let one guide me and pull the other three along, just because I know that regardless if I make it in one or the other, I know like those three have been in my life for the longest. So I'm not just gonna drop dead and oh, that's it. Until here is where you guys are gonna come with me. No, I know that regardless, let's say I continue playing soccer, I'm gonna continue practicing and preparing music, because at the end of the soccer journey, maybe the next step is to continue with the music. So I know that I need to continue preparing, and likewise with my degree and with my major, I know that I need to continue to prepare, sharpen the tools, and be ready to be the next up if need be. I know that the only difference is that instead of it being like that's your main, like daily, you just kind of level it a little back. Personally, that's how I see it. You level it a little back, but you don't let it go completely.
Yeah.
So you just keep everything sharp, and vice versa. Same thing with soccer. If that were to end personally for me individually, I would still continue to watch and practice, because at the end of the day, I feel like I see myself coaching, and in order to be a good coach, I feel like you need to keep sharpening your tools and trying new things, and being able to just be a soccer player first and foremost. So like I think what you said is right. I see myself, even if I dive into one, I still see myself doing the same thing I've been doing since I was little. It's just continuing to balance in the best way possible. Now that might be adjusted, but I do see myself doing that personally, because that's what I love to do.
Yeah, and that's great. I want to go back to something you mentioned. You said that at the end you want to be able to give back to others, show others what you've learned, maybe provide opportunities for people that don't have certain opportunities. And right now you mentioned coaching. Is that like a goal you have in every area of your life? Is that something you got from your family? Is that personal? How does that work, and what motivates you? Is that your greater good in life?
Yeah, well, I know that there's going to be a time where in all three areas a career is going to be not maybe over, but coming to a transition period, like there is with anything. Transition to something else, or something that's furthering your journey again. So I know that down the road I want that to eventually be teaching. And teaching, I mean by teaching others, not necessarily being a teacher per se, but teaching others like what I learned, like the experiences that I had, and helping them get to places that I wasn't able to get to. And I know that one of those ways I can do that is coaching, because I grew up with great coaches. My dad being my first coach and teaching me everything he knew, and my mom being my teacher as well, and everything she knew. And I just know that I'm so grateful for those people that have given me everything, that I know that like it is, I think, my purpose to do the same, be the best individual person I can be, so that I have a great resume and experiences to give to others. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, I know that my journey isn't just a solo journey, but a journey that I want to take myself as far possible as I can go, test the limit, and then once I know I gave it my all, I can give everything that I have in my brain and my heart to everyone around me, my family, my future kids, or even future individuals that I just come in contact with that like allow me to be mentors, to be friends, to be whatever they need me to be. So down the road, I know that regardless, whatever I decide to do, whatever like God blesses me with the opportunity to do, I know that I'm going to be able to give back to the community, and I know that it's going to be something that I just want to do and I would love to do, and that's going to be a passion of mine for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's always the best thing, just giving back in a way, and I feel I posted something earlier this morning on my story, like, good things happen to good people, and I connected that with you reap what you sow. And I feel like it's the same thing in a way, but even in a bigger sense, because you reap what you sow, yes, but that was, when I mentioned that a few minutes ago, that was in your personal journey. Right now, I see it as maybe something even bigger, because you talked about how big of a role your parents played in your life and your whole support group and family. And now, in a way, what they reaped, they're sowing in you doing the same thing for the next generation. So I think that's special. I think that's for sure a bigger purpose. And you mentioned it a lot, not the destinations, but the whole lifelong marathon. Mm-hmm. And that's important. And I'm glad to see you focused in that, because a lot of people could be focused in those 3 areas and specifically to that, but to recognize that as not something to recognize them as superficial things while you still have the greater good in mind is just special and different, and it's what makes people leave their dent in the universe, and that's what's truly special. That's basically concluding our conversation, but I do want to give you the space to talk a bit about your upcoming projects and things that are working out.
Yeah, appreciate that. Obviously a great conversation. I had a great time. Time flew. To go on that, I am going to be promoting an album coming out in the summer. It's in the works right now. I have a lot of tracks ready to go and still being written, being produced, and being created, but I just wanted to give myself, I needed that opportunity I asked that if you let me do that. So be on the lookout. SuaveCisco. I'm wearing a shirt. Shout out my girlfriend Brenda. She made these. They're great. But SuaveCisco on SoundCloud. Potentially that album will hopefully be on Apple Music and Spotify.
Okay.
I'm working on getting that done, and it should be coming late June, mid-July. Giving myself that deadline, but
keep me posted, and we'll post the podcast the week that you're gonna release it.
Great. So yeah, I'll let you know, and we'll have that. But yeah, follow on social media, so I will be posting more frequently, because I'm starting to dive a little bit more into that. So SuaveCisco on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everything. Yeah. So, and YouTube too. I'm also doing things on YouTube. So just SuaveCisco, and be on the lookout. I greatly appreciate your guys' support, and on to the next with whatever comes. Again, thank you for having me on.
No, thank you so much. This is truly a pleasure. You're really leaving your dent in the universe in soccer, music, family, church, life, school, everything. And I'm really, really proud to call you a friend, a teammate, to have you here. And I'm really excited to see where life takes you and what you do in the future. Make sure, guys, to follow him, SuaveCisco. Follow all his projects, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Share this podcast with a friend or anyone that would be interested in listening. like it, or if it's on YouTube, like it. If it's on Spotify, like it as well.
Yeah.
Follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and do the same for Cisco. Thank you so much, bro.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed this talk. I actually learned a lot, and that's even better for me.
Yeah, likewise.
And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to subscribe to my podcast and follow me on my personal social media accounts for more. All at Fer Andraez. All links are in the description. If this episode inspired you in any way, please help me out by sharing it with a friend to help them leave their dent in the universe as well. That's it for today. I'll see you all next time.